The iPhone 12 mini, iPhone 12, 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max will be with us on October 13th, according to our best knowledge. So here are the iPhone's 25 top features, changes, and things to expect for that October 13th launch event. So we have an October 13th event, but don't expect any phones to go on sale straight away. They're going to be made available for pre-order, and then the actual sales dates are going to come after. This is the best information we have at the moment. So mid-October for the online launch event, and then in the weeks following that, they will be available online, and even after that in store as well, if you can actually go to the store and see them. All four new iPhones will be going back to the iPhone 4 design, at least on the side. So flat edges, this new and semi-old design, but certainly a physical change. So a squared off chassis at least. So a modern take on an old design. And actually some good information from Ming-Chi Kuo from the supply chain tells us that the glass to be used on these phones is going to be actually slightly curved, either a 2D or a 2.5D curve on the screen. So 2.5D is what the iPhone 11 series uses. So we could get a curved display into the chassis, which is different from the initial flat displays that we got a long time ago with the iPhone 4. Gone is the green color that was very popular last time around, and a new midnight blue color is to be launched alongside the iPhone 12 series. And we've seen another product launched recently with that blue color, which is the Apple Watch Series 6. This already carries that blue, and so we would expect the iPhone blue to be very similar to this. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that very unique color for this year. There are going to be 4 phones in the series this time around, which is the most iPhones ever launched together. So the new form factor that we're going to be seeing this time is the iPhone mini. So the iPhone mini is a 5.4 inch display, but what's different about this one is that it's all display. So this is going to be using an OLED screen, which means it's exactly the same design as all the other phones, but a tiny form factor. And this is really the first time that Apple have done this, giving us a smaller phone that is just completely bezel-less. So we've had the iPhone SE launched this year, which uses that old design, really big bezels. Well, the iPhone mini is going to be more or less the same size, but have a completely modern design, same as the other iPhones, completely all screen, apart from that notch, of course. But this is a new form factor, and I think it's going to get a lot of hype just because it is new. Not for everyone. 5.4 inches is quite a small screen in this day and age, with even the iPhone 11 with like a 6-inch plus screen. So most people going for maybe the 6 or 6.1 inch models, but 5.4 new form factor, definitely cool and different. Really powerful OLED display, dual cameras, but that small form factor, I think a lot of people could go for it. So yes, as I mentioned, all OLED throughout the entire series. So the Mini, the 12, 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, all using OLED displays. That's the first time ever too, because last year the iPhone 11 still had an LCD display. Well, that's all gone now. So the flagship series from Apple this time using all OLED. What does that mean? Well, it means that the phones can be thinner. OLED displays are usually just thinner than LCD displays, so the iPhone 12 series is expected to be thinner than the iPhone 11s. According to some supply chain sources, up to 10% thinner as well. This may be due not just to the OLED display from the 11 into the 12, but also just the design, the squared off design. Maybe there's more actual space inside that they can flatten out the components. In any case, definitely getting a thinner design, a tiny bit, 10% or so. Along with those thinner designs, there has to be some compromises, and it looks like the batteries have actually been made smaller than last year, and obviously that's quite worrying for a lot of people when it comes to battery life. The bigger the better, obviously, but from supply chain sources and leaks anyway, it looks like the smaller iPhone may be getting a 2,227 milliamp hour battery. The two iPhones in the middle, so the 12 and the 12 Pro, they'll be 6.1 inch displays. They're getting batteries around 2,775 milliamp hours. And then the Pro Max, which is a 6.7 inch display, that's getting a 3,678 milliamp hour battery. A lot of numbers, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, Apple test these out, and we are going to be getting slightly better battery life than in the iPhone 11 series. Apple will say it's maybe 10, 15%, whatever it is. So the actual size of the batteries is pretty irrelevant. It's how they work in the phone, and we know we're going to get about a day's battery life in all of them, with the Pro Max giving us the most. Also, a really cool leak that I want to highlight is the magnet leaks. And we don't know if this is coming in the finished product. So the retail products will have this. We don't know if this was a prototype that's either gone through to the final production stage or whether it's just one that Apple were working on and it won't come. But these magnets are placed actually in the chassis and help with alignment when it comes to wireless charging. So all of the iPhones this year will have wireless charging, of course. And these magnets apparently helping them just secure onto any wireless charging docks. And if Apple are going to do this, then it means that in the future, I'm sure we'll be getting a Apple branded AirPower or wireless charger, and it will just help that secure on. So that's a really cool leak, and we'll see if it comes to the retail products. We're getting braided cables as well this year. So away with those kind of cheap, flimsy plastic cables that Apple always give us that always break after a month and fray. For some reason, with this $1,000 phone, braided cables looking really strong this year. So these are expected to come in the box. Definitely an upgrade, and I'm looking forward to that. Something not to expect though is USB-C charging. Apple are going to stick with Lightning, of course they are. So the cable that you get in the box is going to be USB-C into Lightning. So the Lightning goes into the iPhone, and then the USB-C connector will go into the charging brick itself. So no USB-A, no USB-C to USB-C, but classic Apple style Lightning to USB-C. Something you won't get in the box though is a charging brick or earpods. They are gone. Apple are going to tell us that this is because of environmental reasons, and totally agree with that. It's a good thing for that, especially with all the e-waste. So I'm very supportive of that. Of course, there is just the fact that Apple are going to save millions, if not billions of dollars putting these in the box and having us buy those accessories. So again, that is a very Apple thing to do, but don't expect a charging brick or any earphones of any type in the box. The notch is staying the same, at least for the 12, 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. You will have the same notch, same size, same screen to body in terms of the notch up there, but we're getting the same 3D Face ID, obviously the speaker up there as well, so Apple aren't changing that. Apparently for the new form factor, the iPhone 12 mini, you will be getting a smaller notch, and that's because the phone is just so small. If you had the same size notch, it basically would take up the whole top, so they can't really do that. Looks to be just slightly smaller than the rest, so we'll have to see what Apple do with that, and maybe that smaller notch will make its way to iPhones in the future. We'll have to wait and see. The A14 chipset is going to be launched in these phones, all of them, and we've actually seen this chipset already. So Apple launched this with the iPad Air, which is definitely strange for Apple because this new flagship SoC usually gets launched alongside the iPhone series. Obviously, this year is a bit different. Apple have not compared the A14 to the A13, and that's because the iPad Air that the A14 is in, the refreshed version, is actually replacing the iPad Air with the A12 from a couple of years ago. So Apple said it was actually a lot quicker than the A12. Of course it is. We can do some calculations and work out that the A14 should be about 10, maybe 12% better than the A13. So a good upgrade, not a huge upgrade overall, but just looking at the A14 chipset, it looks like Apple have gone for some upgrades in power, but really also concentrated on efficiency overall and battery life. So we have smaller batteries and of course 5G in the iPhone this year, which is a big battery hog. So it looks like Apple have gone for the mix of power and efficiency with this new A14. This is, by the way, the first commercially available 5nm chipset, so kudos to Apple for doing this, and also TSMC, who actually make the chipsets. There are a bunch of other 5nm chipsets coming out, so Qualcomm and Snapdragon chipsets will be doing it next year, Samsung as well, and Huawei would maybe have been the first, but obviously that's delayed as well. So yeah, Apple will be the first big brand to give us a 5nm chipset. It looks like we're getting RAM upgrades as well, and that is good. Thank you, Apple, for doing this. Apparently, the smaller models will be getting 4GB of RAM, and the Pro models getting 6GB of RAM. Again, we'll have to confirm this when it actually launches. Apple never tell us how much RAM is in their phones, and yeah, to be fair, it's kind of irrelevant with the iPhone. They make the phone have enough RAM to use it with, and obviously the operating system just works with it totally differently to Android phones. So I did mention 5G, but yes, it is coming in the iPhones this year, and apparently all of them. So even the Mini getting 5G, and that's quite interesting because the Mini is a small phone and the new 5G antennas are quite big. So interesting to see how Apple can fit all that in a tiny form factor. Apple will also be sticking to 64 gigabytes of storage in the base models of the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12, according to leaks. 64 gigabytes is not a lot of space, but it does give us obviously a cheaper price overall. Apple obviously expects you to sign up for iCloud and use that, which, yeah, can work. I get that. 64 gigabytes though, not a huge amount. For the Pro models, the Pro and the Pro Max, they'll be starting at 128 gigabytes, so no 64 gigabyte options. But for the Mini and the iPhone 12, you've got that cheaper option if you want to go for it. Also unique to the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 is a dual camera setup. So that's really good. The Mini getting a dual camera setup, not a single camera. I really think that's a great thing. So this Mini just looks like a really great device. But yeah, 2 cameras on those. So an ultra wide and a main. Very good for those. And then the Pro models getting a triple camera setup. And it looks like both the Pro and Pro Max getting a LiDAR sensor as well, which is new on the iPhone. LiDAR is essentially a depth sensor. So if you've seen Android phones and they always say 2 megapixel depth sensor, it's more or less the same thing. So it's a laser or light that shoots out and then it measures the time it takes for that light to return to the sensor. And it can just help with depth sensing. So portrait shots should be a bit better, but also AR applications and everything like that should benefit from those LiDAR sensors. It looks like, though, the Pro Max may be getting something quite unique. We heard this from Max Weinbach. We've also heard these rumors from Ice Universe as well. Possibly a new main image sensor, something different about that sensor. Not sure if it's maybe new, bigger or higher megapixel or bigger pixels. Something's coming in the 12 Pro Max and it looks to be an upgrade over the others. So we would assume that maybe a bigger camera sensor is coming in that one. Apple are trying it in that phone first and then maybe next year giving it to the other phones. But that is super exciting. A bigger camera sensor or some sort of new technology to improve imaging is always welcome. I hope that the Pro Max gets it and also the Pro. It's not just reserved for that Pro Max, but we'll wait and see on that one. Another really cool video rumor, and this is thanks to basically the A14 chipset really, is the ability to shoot 4K resolution whilst shooting 240 frames a second, which is kind of insane video specs. So that resolution and that frame rate is incredible to shoot together. So usually videos are shot in either 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second. 240 frames a second is super slow motion, but having that really high resolution as well. It's definitely a cool spec, not the most heavily used feature by most people, but something that is pretty cool. But 4K, 240 frames a second and 64 gigabytes of storage, that's gonna be literally full in about 7 seconds. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that works. Also at number 24, it looks like that the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 will actually be available first and on sale first. We've heard tons of rumors and obviously the iPhone 12 series is delayed already, but a lot of the Pro and Pro Max's components are being delayed and it looks like those 2 phones will come a little bit later or be available for sale later than the 12 and 12 mini, maybe by a week or so. So we'll wait and see on that one. And then we come to the main spec that looks to be not coming this year. 120 Hertz, which was rumored at the start of the year and a spec that I think a lot of people were looking forward to. If the iPhones had 120 Hertz refresh rate screens this year, they really would be an entire package without pretty much any downsides. However, it does look like that 120 Hertz just isn't coming this year. Apple tried to put it on there, they were testing it, but battery concerns, I think, have just meant that they've scrapped it in these phones. We still have persistent rumors that maybe this is coming or the hardware is there and maybe the Pro Max might get it. Those are still rumors. Most of the reliable leakers saying 120 Hertz just isn't an option this year. And that is the one thing that I think's left out. Everything else looks really great. I'd love to know your thoughts on all of these points, 120 Hertz, what's been left in and left out. Thanks to Concept Creator and Concept's iPhone for those amazing renders you've been looking at. You can check those out in the description. Let me know all your thoughts about the iPhone 12 series. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.